Hello, my friends. I'd like to talk to you today about a project, the SCAF project, the Future Air Combat System. It was supposed to represent or symbolize the Macron decade, which has just crashed. And in a way, it couldn't have done a better job of truly symbolizing this decade. Let me tell you about it. By the way, this is actually the first time I'm talking about a plane crash, about an accident where the plane crashed without ever taking off. Usually it takes off before it crashes. Here, it's a plane that went up in smoke before it even saw the light of day, actually. Look, in 2017, Macron comes to power. He goes to meet Angela Merkel, the previous German chancellor, and with her, he actually launches the successor to the Dassault Rafale. That means he's going to launch the next generation military aircraft with all kinds of needles, buttons, little bells, all that. It was to replace the Rafale. Now, the thing is, basically, when you look at the manufacturer of the Rafale, Dassault Aviation, has the expertise, the experience, the resources, the technology, all that, to create the successor to the Rafale, except that Macron doesn't see it that way, because what he wants is to make it a symbol. He doesn't just want a plane, he also wants a plane with the logo or the flag of the European Union, because you know him. He doesn't really see himself as the French president. He sees himself as the president of the European Union. In reality, he would have preferred to be in von der Leyen's position. He's someone who never speaks as a president. You can listen to Chirac, you can listen to Mitterrand or others, and you'll hear the speech of a French president. Macron doesn't see himself in that role. In any case, what he wanted to do was to create a project that not only provides a plane, but also the symbolism of European defense, a sovereign Europe, a Europe built on partnership, the Franco-German partnership, which really only exists from the French perspective. The Franco-German couple doesn't exist for the Germans, so he's launching this project. On one side, we have Dassault involved. On the German side, we also have Airbus Defense, and there are also a bunch of smaller companies on both sides of lesser scale. From the very beginning, every time we hear about this project, we hear about it in negative terms. It goes from crisis to conflict to misunderstandings to disputes, and it's not moving forward. It's been almost 10 years since it started. It began with Macron's first 5-year term, so now we're about to reach 10 years with this project. That means at this stage, if it had been entrusted to Dassault Aviation, the first prototypes would be in the testing phase. Well, no, he didn't do that. And today what we're doing, 9 years later, is burying the project. The project is being thrown in the trash. There have been a lot of problems marring the history of this project. But fundamentally, it was poorly designed. Basically, it's just Macron who believes in something that doesn't exist. He adds symbolism and ideology to a project that was already complicated enough on its own, which didn't need that. So before I tell you the rest, let me talk to you for 30 seconds about the sponsor of this video, meilleurjob.com. They make a very efficient tool that I tried, which allows you to upload your resume. It helps you find job listings or employers that aren't necessarily available on the usual platforms. And then you can send an application, and this application is tailored to each employer. The resume can potentially be rearranged a little bit so that it matches the specific employer. So AI or artificial intelligence is with us. For better or for worse, I think it would be a mistake not to use it today. There you go. I'll leave the link in the video description, plus an aldosterone voucher that lets you get the first month at half price. Thanks to meilleurjob.com for sponsoring this video. As I was saying, when we come back to this story about France and Germany, well, let me give you something that might be quite striking. What do the following countries have in common? I'm going to give you a list of countries. What do these countries have in common? Finland, Switzerland, Romania, Poland, Belgium, and let me also add Germany to the list. What do all these countries have in common? Well, I'm going to tell you. All these countries have recently purchased American F-35 fighter jets. What does that mean? It means that the Europeans, what Macron calls our European partners, don't see themselves as partners of France. They are in the European Union, each for their own interests or other reasons, but they don't see themselves as part of a federation of nations, as Macron sees it. They don't see themselves as partner nations. They prefer to buy from the Americans, period. Something else. The United Kingdom and Italy, with the help of Japan, they launched a rival project to the SCAF. That means that the SCAF, which was launched by Macron in Germany, which we're talking about today, which failed, already had a competing project launched by the United Kingdom and Italy. That means that even if the SCAF had succeeded, it would have ended up running in parallel with the British-Italian project. All right? By the way, that project is also struggling because quite simply, well, it seems the British don't have the funds. Anyway, the British have spent the funds on almost everything. So their main excuse is always, we don't have the funds. Not that they've actually invested the money in any case. Another very interesting thing about the failure of this whole thing is that Germany didn't have the same requirements as France. Why? Because France wanted a plane to replace the Rafale. So, a plane that is first capable of landing on aircraft carriers. For them, it's very important that it has the performance, that it has the technical characteristics, so that it can be operated from an aircraft carrier, but also that it can serve as a nuclear deterrent. That means it can carry atomic weapons. However, Germany, which is contributing to the development budget of the SCAF, they have a problem with that. Because quite simply, they don't have aircraft carriers. They don't have atomic bombs. So they say to themselves, why should we pay for France to develop a plane with features that don't interest us? All right? In a way, we understand them. In a way, it's not unfair to think that. Because quite simply, they're contributing to the funding and development for something they won't need. All right, so they feel a little bit like France is exploiting them and that France wants to develop, wants to finance the development at their expense of a plane that is not fully usable by them. Because they don't have aircraft carriers, they don't have atomic bombs. But be careful, the American atomic bombs that exist on German soil come with a condition. The Germans cannot attach them to European planes. They have to attach them to American planes. That's why they bought the F-35S specifically for this activity. You see, so the Americans are strongly positioned, they're highly influential in the equation. And so the system as it was designed by the Europeans could only collapse. The last point though, the last point that really marked the failure of this project, when you look at Germany in 2017, Merkel's Germany, which signed with Macron, is it the same Germany today? No, not at all. It's not the same Germany under Merz. Back then, Germany had a budget of roughly $35 billion, a military budget of $35 billion. Today, it has exceeded $100 billion. What does that mean? It means that Germany is remilitarizing. At the time, in 2017, it still hadn't recovered from the blow it received in 1945. It was still stuck in that. It was still a country that wanted to be, peaceful, focused on industry and all that, and we're nice. All of that is over now. Germany today wants to militarize. Germany wants to become the leading army in Europe. It has tripled its budget since then. It's going to increase it even more. It aims to be the most powerful army by 2030. You know as well as I do that when Germany starts wanting to become a military power, usually things go very badly. By the way, today I wonder if it was even a good idea to allow the reunification of East and West Germany. Because history, slowly, is repeating itself. A Germany that is fully remilitarizing is a risk for everyone. But in any case, this ultra-militarized Germany today no longer sees itself as the fifth wheel in this new SCAF aircraft project. They're not interested. Now they want to take the lead. And so this secondary role that was given to them, well, they're no longer interested in it. So that's the story. But in any case, 10 years later, France finds itself having lost 10 years. That means that instead of having a plane flying now, well, they have nothing at all. That means that France will have to keep using the Rafale for even longer. And if they need a more modern next generation plane, as they say, well, maybe they'll also have to maybe swallow their, how should I put it, pride. And go buy the plane from the Americans? Because simply put, Macron's decade is a lost one in that sense. And let me tell you something. Macron's decade, it wasn't just the SCAF program that was buried, not at all. There was also the helicopter, there was a helicopter project that was launched, The Mk2 project, which never saw the light of day, also launched with European partners. There was also a patrol aircraft. The helicopter is the Tiger II. There was the maritime patrol aircraft, also buried. So actually these projects, there are several projects launched by Macron, always in a mandatory way. He wants to do them with the Europeans. And it always ends up badly, always the same thing. It ends with a lot of money lost, a project that never sees the light of day, and even greater dependence on the United States. So there it is, my friends, 10 years wasted. Well, if they start today developing a new plane, without the European partners, maybe in 10 years they'll have it. But if they start again with the same assumptions, it's doomed. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, my friends, let me remind you about the sponsor of this video, meilleurjob.com. I'll leave the link in the description. And one more thing, I'm working on developing an app, okay? But to develop the app, I have several ideas, but I would like you to help me. I would like you to help me to choose between these ideas. I'll give you a questionnaire. I'll give you a questionnaire in the video description, in the pinned comment. This questionnaire is it's anonymous. You can leave your email address at the end if you want. With the email address, what I'm going to do is pick 3 in July and send a signed book to those 3 addresses. I contact people, request their mailing address, and they receive it by mail. I will randomly pick 3 email addresses. Everyone on the whole planet is eligible. Anyone. I send it to anyone, anywhere in the world. I know there's someone watching me at Amundsen Scott, that's at the South Pole, practically at the South Pole. All right, I send my regards to the people watching me from that place. If you win, I'll try to send it to you, but I can't promise how long delivery will take. Anyway, my friends, please help me with this form so I can know which direction to go. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. See you very soon.